In my 20s, I spent, almost 4 years on a Navy destroyer in the North Arabian Sea, Persian Gulf, Western Pacific, South China Sea. So in my 20s, I served my country on a Navy destroyer. In my 70s, I'll serve my country in a federal prison. It doesn't make any difference. It won't change my life one whit. I don't have a big social agenda. I'm dedicated to this work of saving my country. And if I have to be a political prisoner, I'll be a political prisoner. Just a couple of things of what you said in the open. Remember, this is a misdemeanor. When we were in the federal courthouse, the guy that ran the federal courthouse said, and this is in DC, he said, and I think he'd been there 30 or 40 years. He told one of my guys he had never remembered a misdemeanor ever being prosecuted. He says they're so backed up with felonies, and that's why half the three-quarters of felonies get settled out of court. They just don't, there's no time. He said he's never seen a misdemeanor ever gone to trial. Particularly immediately. They remember this is a criminal charge, not civil. You could charge somebody civilly. And like in Peter Navarro, my colleague and brother, he's down in a federal prison in Miami. I don't know if they've ever had a misdemeanor someone there. And Peter's the same way. It's a misdemeanor. So they did this. Remember, President Trump invoked executive privilege, sent my lawyer a letter on advice of counsel. My lawyer told me flat out, executive privilege has been exerted. So you just stand down and, he would handle that. I don't hold grudges against which way people vote. I understand what's going on here as you do. I mean, this is an illegitimate regime of neo-Marxists. From the Justice Department to the FBI, the Wall Street crowd, you can see this everywhere in our society, the attacks on the family, and they play for keeps. And I'm so glad that in the Alex Joneses and the Tucker Carlsons, and particularly since you've had the opportunity to leave Fox, ourselves and so many others now understand that this is a war to the knife, right? We have to win this. If we don't win this, this country is going to devolve into some kind of neo-Marxist totalitarian regime, of which it's pretty far down the road right now. That's why I don't fear going to prison, right? I know it's going to take my voice off. The war is still going to go on. And I keep saying it's next man up. You can't lean on Trump. You can't lean on Tucker. You can't lean on Bannon. You can't lean on Alex Jones. This is a populist revolt. You have to step up and do it yourself. You have to dive in more. You have to do more media sharing, become a force multiplier. So I'm pretty happy with where the show is right now, what the audience is going to do with the team that we've got. But it's clearly they're playing Smash Mouth. And I just think we have to wake up, and the Jim Bankses of the world and the Jim Jordans and the Speaker Johnsons. You have to understand we're in a political war, in an information war, and you got to start fighting like you're in a war.
I mean, I have to say, and I'm not trying to rub it in or make you feel bad, but if you just take 3 steps back, the fact that they're putting people in prison, men in their 70s, you and Navarro, but others, lots of others, people in prison for defying them politically. I mean, that is not the country that we grew up in. Do you ever sort of wonder where you are?
I think, like you, I've seen this coming for a couple of years. Yeah. I was able to work with Andrew Breitbart when you started Daily Caller, Andrew started Breitbart. I think at the time we had an inkling when Obama said fundamentally transform the United States. I think we had an inkling with Holder and these guys, but it took really President Trump as kind of someone of people that could rally around to understand that the managed decline of our country was more than just happy, more than just a campaign slogan. It's real. And I think that's, I keep saying Trump's win in 2016 was providential because I was there. We had a man, we had a mission, we had a plane, we had a message. We didn't have much. We didn't have a lot of money and not a lot of organization. And that was divine providence we won. But I tell people it's also divine providence. It's providential that we lost in 2020, that was stolen. And the reason was, up until then, you kind of thought Democrats, and they had different ideas on taxes. They had different ideas maybe on certain social programs or education programs, but it's not true. They are literally a neo-Marxist revolutionary group that wants to fundamentally change this country. And now that they have the power of big tech, the lords of easy money, Hollywood, the universities, both high culture and low culture, in the political apparatus, they're going to destroy the American Republic that we grew up with. And this is a war. It is a war. And I'm going to go in for a while as a prisoner of war. I'm a political prisoner. And you say you're shocked about it. In one regard, I would be shocked about it, but this is the least They want to put Trump in prison for hundreds of years. They want to destroy one of the greatest Americans in our country, Rudy Giuliani. I mean, bankrupt him, destroy him. They're playing Smash Mouth. The Republicans don't even conceive of that. That's why in this Trump movement, when we start talking about Judgment Day is 5 November and Accountability Day is after President Trump takes his hand off the King James Bible at high noon on the 20th of January, 2025. McCabe's on TV every other night. McComey's on TV all the time. This is so terrible. We're having conversations. We may have to leave the country. Well, hey, leave the country, but we have extradition treaties with everybody, and the long arm of American justice is going to get you and fetch you back here. Because one thing I can tell you, with President Trump's second term, there is going to be accountability, not retribution, not revenge. He's got the border to shut down, mass deportations. He's got to stop these endless wars, particularly in the Ukraine. He's got to stop the madness of the spending and how we finance this government, which is out of control and caused inflation. But one of the most important things he has to do is deconstruct the administrative state. And part of that is literally crushing the new Praetorian Guard, which is the deep state. President Trump will do this, and I think we'll have a group of people around him that are going to be maniacally focused on to do it. But until that time, this is a war, and a lot more people are going to go to prison. A lot more people are going to prison than Steve Bannon. I tell the men and women on my team, it's time to step up. It's like at Normandy, we just commemorate the 80th anniversary. The people on the first wave, half of them didn't get up to the bulwark on the beach. They were gone. It was next man up. The only reason they got off that beach is next man up. American history is built upon next man up. You can leave. You're going to lose your best people. You're going to lose your good people. You lose the people in leadership. You'll lose the people at the front of the phalanx. You got to pick up the armor. You got to pick up the spear and do it yourself. This is going to be a very good exercise for us. Got to tell people, and I say it all the time, you can't lean, there's too much pressure on Trump. You can't lean on Trump all the time. You can't lean on Tucker Carlson. You can't lean on Alex Jones, Steve Bannon, who named 20, 50, 30, 40, James O'Keefe. You can't lean on them. You have to step up and do it yourself. That's what a populist revolt's about. And what they think is that's an old school model. If I can take out Trump, if I can take out Tucker, if I can take out Rudy, if I can take out Alex Jones, if I can take out Steve Bannon and cause the rest of them to all be worried about being debanked and deplatformed and spin their wheels there, they win. This is going to be a challenge to show if we win. President Trump, Donald J. Trump on the 11th of January, if you think it's over the top that Steve Bannon for misdemeanors is going to a federal prison, Donald Trump, a guy that gave us 4 years of peace and prosperity, or at least 3 years of peace and prosperity before we got hit with a Chinese bioweapon, he's going to be sentenced to years at Rikers Island. Now, they're going to defer it or give him home arrest or make him a supplicant to Judge Merchant so that he can go campaign to a limited degree. But they're in a court in New York State are going to sentence a man who is president of the United States and gave us 3 of the best years of any president in this republic's history, sentence him to prison on a case that's actually 10 times bigger joke than mine is. So don't think if they come for Trump and sentence Trump to prison with the billions he has and the contacts he has and the fact that he's been commander in chief and president and pretty damn successful, they can come for anybody. You don't think they can put anybody in prison. And right now, if you see what's happening in New York State and California and some of these states and cities, the great cities like Chicago, with what they have running those cities, the folks they got running it, you better be prepared. There's going to be a lot more people than Donald Trump and Steve Bannon go to prison unless we stop it now. And that's why when you have people like John Yoo and Andy McCarthy, particularly John Yoo, who's no fan of President Trump and certainly not MAGA, when a guy like that is as smart as that and reason, when he comes out in National Review, which is also not, as you know, a big Trump supporting, big MAGA supporting magazine, when he comes out and literally lays out, says we have a constitutional duty, attorney generals and DAs in the House to get in these Democrats' face and start indicting people. He says, if we don't do that, the balance of the Constitution will be totally gone. We're going to lose the country. So when a guy like John Yoo and then backed up by Andy McCarthy, when those guys are saying that over at National Review, you realize we've hit a tripwire. July 1st, hey, I served my country on a Navy ship. I'll serve my country as a political prisoner in a federal prison for a misdemeanor. I don't bat one eye. Whatever it takes to win this revolution we got to do. I'll also communicate with my team and other people on the outside within prison regulations, whatever those regulations are. So I'll be fully occupied. I work, I'm proud to work 18 hours a day. I have nothing else in my life going on except this, so it won't stop. And we'll just continue to press on. I've told my team there can't be one drop in quality. There can't be one drop in audience participation or impact. And so it's on my team to do it. And I'll hopefully be in communication with those guys, but I'm very confident we build a team up here that will continue on. Like I tell them, it's next man up. You don't know if Tucker Carlson's going to be there tomorrow or you're going to be rounded up. Yeah. You don't know if President Trump's going to be, by the way, they could remand him to Rikers that afternoon. I think it'd be incredibly foolish. And obviously a stretch even for those crazies, but Trump could be remanded to prison that afternoon. In fact, if you look at Tish James and Rachel Maddow and those people that we'll all investigate when we take power as their participation in this. If you look at Weissman, those guys, they want him remanded on the afternoon of July 11th. They don't want him to go to the Republican convention, stand on that stage and before the world, take the nomination that was so hard fought for and really stand up and get it on with Biden one-on-one, which I think right now this thing will be a blowout. So, no, they're playing smash. Look at Rudy Giuliani, one of the greatest mayors we've ever had, one of the greatest Americans and just an amazing guy. To bankrupt him, they want to jail him. I think he's got sentences out there, potential of 30 or 40, 50 years. Tina Peters, a Gold Star mother from Colorado. I think she's looking at prison time on multiple felonies of, I think, 20 or 30 years. The 75-year-old grandmother they just put in prison last week, gave her 2 years in ill health at 75 years old, gave her 2 years in a federal prison. So these people won't stop at anything. Whether you're a religious, right now you're a religious individual, whether you go to a traditional Catholic mass, church, and in Richmond, the FBI, the Richmond office, that was the church my parents started, that they started looking at. My parents were very devout Catholics, and as soon as they were able to start a Latin mass back in the 70s in the diocese, they took a couple of the priests out of the monastery and they formed a Latin mass. That was one of the churches that was the one that gave the guys in the Richmond field office, because it's a very traditional, very blue collar, tons of kids going to the military, go to the academies, but really enlist in the Marine Corps and the Navy and the Army. And that's what the FBI is going after. They're saying that they're building political extremists, that this is where extremism is coming from. Your government has turned against you, not our country, the government. This illegitimate regime has taken over the apparatus of the United States government and is enforcing dictatorial power. And we have to stand up for it, just like the revolutionary generation stood up to the dictatorial power of the crown and people like the British East India Company.
What they hate most is Christianity, for sure. Well, you're a brave and magnanimous man. And so God bless you. Good luck.
Tucker, thanks. Look forward to seeing you on the other side.
Oof. Thank you, Steve.
'Cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away.